Welcome to Rise and Shine with Alissa. I am your hostess, the consultress, here bringing you amazing conversations with inspiring people in today's age of disruption.
Mm.
Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart, but also it's the place where all value is created, in my humble opinion. And then putting on that investor mindset to see things as developing in value, there's nothing better, especially when you're bringing it home to raise a family, affect your community, and leave a legacy, right? So I have the pleasure and privilege of, butterflying all around the digital landscape, meeting awesome people. And I have the pleasure of introducing you all today to Audrey Giannini. Welcome to Rise and Shine.
Thank you, thank you. I just got chills. I'm excited.
Me too. I
Also,
mean,
one of
go.
your recent episodes, you said I always try to get Italian names right. You nailed it. Good job. Giannini is not easy.
Right on. Well, I grew up a Facchini, so I'm very sensitive to it. We
So
met
fair.
because you are an amazing woman in finance, doing very heartfelt things and like kind of changing the game. You and your brother are in business together, and so can you tell us a little bit about the genesis of finance and how you guys kind of work together?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, family and business is our, kind of our two founding um ideals. So my brother and I are the bookends of our family. We've got five kids in the family. I'm the youngest, he's the oldest. So there's 13 years between us. And it has been we've kind of joked about it for a number of years working together. We're in the same industry. We're both CPAs. He was actually the reason I went into accounting back in the day. Um, and I guess it was about 4 years ago now, we both started our own, gigs on the side. I went back to school. Like we had all sorts of stuff going on. And his wife actually was the one that was kind of in the back of his ear and was like, one day you're going to work with Audrey. I just know it. Like one day you two are going to do it. And we just kept finding in our own separate businesses, we needed each other. Like we just kept needing each other. And my husband also was very, important in this process that he had this idea that both my skill set and Evan's skill set really could, help come to fruition. So it was very much a family business from the beginning. My mother was terrified.
Oh no.
She was like, you can't do this. You can't go into business together. This is so scary.
You're
And
gonna ruin the family.
I
You're
know
going to help
exactly.
us
Like
talking
you're not
business at dinner.
exactly. And it has been so much fun. And it's not without its issues, but transparency, honesty, all of that stuff has been really important. And yeah, it's been great. So it's 4 years in, we've learned all sorts of lessons, we're figuring it out as we go, but yeah, all good stuff.
I love that you guys are like figuring it out together synergistically, because oftentimes, I mean, hey, I come from family business,
Mhm.
and when there's a disagreement, it affects your personal life. But I think
Sure.
also the fact that it affects your personal life is what makes it more meaningful for you to come to accord.
Yeah.
And having like the similar skill sets with like a yin and yang kind of,
Mhm.
it sounds
Mhm.
like you two are like very simpatico with your skill sets. And
Mhm.
what I recognized first when I think I met your brother first, and then I
Yep.
met you, and I was like, you gotta come podcast with me. Because you two seem to like balance each other out well. And
Mhm.
was that just like natural? Did you guys do that forever, or was this something you developed more of a skill in working together in your business?
No, I think it was a total accident that it turns out that we actually work really well together. What we knew is that both of us are very optimistic, happy, pretty humble's not quite the word, but like our ego is normally not in the room. We're big about, being able to change and taking on constructive criticism, right? So it makes those hard conversations a lot easier. Um, but in terms of our skill, I mean, he and I are super different in like every other way, right? So we're happy, optimistic, like he would get on and go, woohoo, right? We're both kind of cheerleaders, but everything else is actually very different. So no, we kind of fell into that one.
Nice. And
Mhm.
so the philosophy of finance about how you partner with your clients, and it really impressed me how you guys approach that from a like relationship standpoint, because so often in finance we find, I know better than you. I'm just going to tell you what to do, and you're going to listen to me because you have to. Like that,
Mhm.
that environment is like so pervasive in all of the financial services. And when I met the two of you, it really felt like you were really upending that because you're like, that's not who we are. That's not how we live. And we
Mhm.
want to partner with our clients. And I'm like, ooh, partnership, one of my core values.
Mhm.
So can you describe a little bit about how like you guys came to that and put that into practice?
Yeah. So I went back to grad school about 4 years ago to become a therapist. And the one of sort of the first things that school like exploded for me was this concept of every one of us being just completely different. At our core, we are totally different. What we care about, what we love, what we how we think, where we come. I mean, everything about us is completely different. There are similarities, but in reality, um, what we want and where we're headed is totally different. So for someone in the financial sector to be giving advice, this boxed advice of here's the right thing for everyone to do, and in essence, I mean, it's that's not right, right? If we're all completely different, then we shouldn't all be doing the same thing to reach our goals because we have different goals, we have different desires. So I think that that was where it kind of started of this, aha moment of I've been in accounting for, a decade, and we've been telling people to every person to do the same thing, right? Here's this kind of like boxed advice. Um, and you realize the more that you work with people, the better that you get to know them. When you go relationship forward, you realize their values are different, their priorities are different. The advice that I'm giving to person A, B, and C needs to be different because they don't all want the same thing. So that was where it all kind of started. And then you realize it's not just individuals, which for me on the tax front is very important. It also expands to businesses. It's the same thing, right? For us as entrepreneurs, we all come in with this desire to succeed, but the definition of success is completely different for every single person. So you have to learn what that definition is before you can advise. So I think that was where it all started. And we had to figure out what that meant for us too before we were able to help other people figure it out.
Yes, I love that. I go first. I'm
Mhm.
gonna embody it and like do the inquiry for myself, for my business,
Yeah.
so that I can then pay forward and kind of exemplify, like model the way about, listen, I know you want tax advice and you want your tax returns, but
Hmm.
let me understand you so that I can understand, your data set and how it applies or empowers you or where you might be, losing faith, losing money, losing results and impact, because
Yep.
oftentimes we don't think of financial services as helping us develop our dream. I mean, you have the financial advisor typical pitch is like, let's define your dreams and then help you back
Hmm.
in. And but it kind of gets lost in platitudes unless you're willing to go first, to
Hmm.
exemplify and really sit in that this is who I am. Like open kimono, these are the values I represent,
Hmm.
families, partnership, transparency. And
Hmm.
in order to have that, in order for us to work together, this is what we need to have a discussion about first. And if you don't value this and you want to just go right to the end, then maybe that's not a fit. We're
Yeah,
not
totally.
order takers, we're, dream builders. Like that's one thing that really impressed me is that interconnected, like side by side partnership that approach that you guys take.
Mhm, mhm.
um because you're right, one size fits all advice is what leads most people to like disaster.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. We're not the right fit for everybody. Just, I mean, I think that's true for anybody, any service provider. You're not the right fit for every single person. And that is not only is that okay, that is a good thing, right? You don't want to be a fit for every person. It doesn't make sense. So, I think that was it was important for us to do the work. It was also important for us to realize that we still have yet to figure it out, right? We're all still figuring it out together
Yeah.
so that we can help other people realize like there's not a destination here. This is a kind of a lifelong journey. We're all learning together. We're all figuring it out.
Yeah, It's true. And as we figure it out, we also change. So I like to talk about this. I built a methodology around this called the simple method so that you
Mhm.
can address the tactical pieces of business, which we all
Mhm.
need, the strategy,
Mhm.
implementation, and metrics.
Mhm.
But the being side of business, the interpersonal and relationship side, the partnership, developing your own leadership, and then who you
Mhm.
get to empower because of that,
Mhm.
is in constant evolution. So it's really this beautiful circle that allows you to start from that place of evolving yourself and then revisit your
Mhm.
strategies,
Mhm.
revisit what is meaningful for you to measure. Because
Mhm.
like the idea and the myth that like you set something up and then it goes forever, that's industrial age thinking. That is the stuff
It
of
just doesn't
businesses.
work that way
No,
also.
no.
Like, yeah, it doesn't work that way, and I would be amazed if someone could show me that that's how it works. You
Hmm.
build it, you do it, and then you never have to come back and revisit. There's just no way.
Yeah, set it and forget it. But it's a big myth that's out there when people, get involved in business that they, are going to, do this until they arrive and then they're done.
Right.
It is always this constant inquiry. And I think to me, that's what parenting brought to my awareness. That's what
Mm.
entrepreneurship brought, is that you're really never done. So to
Mhm.
say, I've arrived and this is how it
Mhm.
is like shrinking philosophical thinking.
Mhm.
Whereas where can I continue to refine, define, hone in on what lights me up, where I find connection with my clients? Because like then we get to that Pareto principle, because 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts. And when
Mm.
you realize that that comes from the being side of business, that comes from the partners that you develop and who you're becoming along the way,
Yeah.
you get to then redefine and say, okay, well, then I'm going to drop 80% of this activity and really
Mhm.
focus this next iteration of the tactical stuff of my business based on what really matters. And
Yeah.
then, around the horn you go again. So
Mhm.
for you, I mean, I have, been lucky to kind of be along your journey here for
Mhm.
uh, quite a few months now, but
Mhm.
like, enter new baby, enter motherhood, enter like all sorts of stuff in the
Mhm.
middle of tax season, right? So how has becoming a parent with all of this stuff kind of changed your perception of doing business?
Yeah, and also thank you for your patience because I mean, my God, I don't, for all those new parents out there, you just never know what parenthood is going to do and throw things for a loop. Yeah, I mean, I went into it knowing that I was ultimately going to have two babies. Like I'm a mamapreneur at heart. I have my business, it's my baby, and then I have my baby, and he's way cuter than Binance, but I have 2 babies, and it was this.
Wait, let's compare. Pick the mug up. Is he
I
cuter
know,
than
I know, our little mascot actually does look like Luca. But it was another self-reckoning moment for me to recognize, like, I was not gonna be able to take the time off that a lot of my friends were able to take off. I wasn't gonna be able to just turn off in that way. I didn't have maternity leave. I didn't, that's not a reality for a lot of entrepreneurs. And it was a little bit of, am I okay with this? And ultimately the answer was yes, because it allows me to, the business allows me to live my passion. And I want Luca to see that. Like I want him to see that we can all do hard things. We can all, you know, create something and create life at the same time. Like you can do both things at the same time. So in the moments where I was like, God, I feel like I shouldn't be working right now, he was napping, he was happy. It took me a moment to really say, like, no, this is important. I want him to see this because I want him to know he can do this one day if he wants. And this it doesn't have to be entrepreneur. He doesn't have to start a business for him to do what he loves, but it just is important for me to continue to show him that, like, he can have whatever his version of it all is,
Mm.
which changes at every phase of life. um so yeah, there was definitely some learning that went on, um that is still ever evolving.
Yeah, and so like for me, parenting, I use this analogy like when we're single, we're like, oh, I have no time for myself, and then
Mm-hmm.
we find our spouse, and we're like, everybody's like, where'd you go?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have kids, and then we realize, oh, I had so much time. Now I have to figure out how to fit all the things that I want or define the things that I really want and let go of the stuff that
Mm.
doesn't fit
Mhm.
that paradigm, and
Yep.
then double down on that.
Mhm.
Having children made me prioritize in a way that I had never prioritized before.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
allowed me to see attraction versus distraction in
Mm.
such a clear way that it was the biggest gift to me.
Yeah.
I knew that I didn't want to build a business that required me to work 80 plus hours a week,
Yeah.
although to be fair, when
Had a
you're
hard
obsessed with
time.
what you do, you wind up working more than the average bear.
Yeah.
Um, but like knowing what was distraction from there, I was able to tell people no more
Mhm.
lovingly and say, it's not against you, it's for me. And
Mhm.
so that showed up in my work where I was really trying to make a difference for people who I really felt that I could help and move the needle
Mm.
for. And everybody
Mhm.
else who was just kind of sort of, I had to say no to. Are you finding that kind of polarity now in
Yeah.
how often you work or who you'll engage and how you go about structuring your role in your company?
No question. At my core, I like helping people, and I battle a little bit with wanting to help people and being a people pleaser. The people pleasing aspect of my personality has become a lot easier to wrangle now that he's born. Now that he is here, saying no has been, so much easier, because it just is, before I didn't feel as if I was clear about the importance of my time. And now I could not be more clear. So yeah, to the point of, I'm not the right person for everyone, it has become easier to say no to people who are coming to work with me and clearly aren't going to fit the culture. It's been easier to say no about, how I want to spend my time. Yeah. It just is it that parenting is hard in a lot of ways. It is also so fun, but
Right.
it has also made certain things just much easier.
Yeah, and amen to that, because
Mhm.
without there's this proverb I keep coming back to, and I'm going to mess it up every time I say it. But like, calm seas don't make skilled sailors, something like that.
Mm,
And it's like
mhm,
going through the turbulence that most of our culture says, avoid at all costs. Like, I
mhm,
call bullshit, because
mhm, mhm.
avoiding conflict or avoiding challenges,
Yeah.
it doesn't make you stronger. It makes the challenge larger and more pronounced, so that when you do have to hit it, now
Mhm.
it's, a snowball. Now it's a bigger mountain. It's not like a molehill anymore.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
those instances we have to say, okay, this is challenging. I'm not spending as much time with my family as I want to. As an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, we say, what can I change? How do I
Mhm.
invest my mindset? How do I invest my focus and my time so that I can have the outcome and the results that I want?
Yeah.
And not only do I want the results that I want, but I also want the journey and the presence that I want. And that's
Mhm.
for me as a mompreneur like you,
Mhm.
I want
Mhm.
to bake the cake and then I want to eat it, because like, what the hell are
Mhm.
we baking cake for?
Totally. Agreed. Yes. Yeah, and I've had that reality too, that
High
yeah,
five.
high five on that, right? That starting a business is hard. If it allows you to hopefully have the independence and autonomy and flexibility to be able to do the things that you want to do, awesome. If it doesn't, like, what are we here for? What's the point? So yeah, I think, and that's back to this constant questioning and reevaluating and making sure that you set it, you don't forget it, and you come back to it and say like, okay, is it working? Oh, it's not working. Okay, let's figure something else out. Like, that's okay that it didn't work. Let's figure something else out.
Yeah, and mm, like, it's okay that it didn't work, right? Like,
Yes,
it's okay.
it's a
We give
good
ourselves
thing.
we give
We
ourselves such
tried.
crap, right? Oh,
I
and
think a
letting
lot of
go.
things, honestly, Alyssa, are fear-based. And when you can recognize the fear that's behind the decision that you're making and admit it, it's like, I don't know, AA, right? Admitting that you're an alcoholic, like being able to admit that you're afraid of something takes the wind out of it a little bit. So once you take yeah, not to say that the fear goes away, but it becomes less scary when you can say it, to yourself and to the world.
Yeah. And isn't it cool that we can surrender and say, "Oh, you know what? That's not working." Like,
Mm,
I don't have to make myself wrong about it. I don't have to be afraid of what other people are going to think because I took a risk that didn't pan out. Like, so
mhm,
many people stay stuck because they're afraid to do something they've never done and to be wrong. This
yep.
is one of the fundamental concepts that you have to get when you get in business is that I'm going to screw up a bunch of things. And that doesn't
Totally.
make me a screw up. That makes
Mhm.
me a pioneer. And when you
Mhm.
can upend that fear and say, well, I'm going to feel the fear because everybody's
Mhm.
got it. That's like we're
Mhm.
wired in our amygdala to feel it because it's
Mhm.
different. It's outside of our normal experience.
Yeah.
And then bravely take that step and say, at the end of it, did I get what I intended to get? Did I get more than I bargained for? Or is
Mhm.
this something now I have to let go of? And when we were in the green room before we started recording, this is one of those ways that I've changed tack in my business to having trimesters instead of quarters.
Mhm.
Like we can
Mhm.
talk about the fiscal quarters all day long and they matter. But in terms of like how I approach my business, I realized that I needed 2 solid 4-month production periods. And then from November to February, I need a
Mhm.
chance to like stop, step
Mhm.
back a little bit, let things continue that are meant to continue, but watch as I take the foot off the gas a bit and see
Mhm.
what's working and what's not to really have that time to be honest. If
Mhm.
you can't be honest with yourself about what's working in your life, in your business, in your relationships,
Mhm.
then you're doing yourself a disservice and you're just like perpetuating that shame and judgment thing that we've kind of had glommed onto us.
Yeah.
So when you're willing to step back and say what's not working, you're also
Mhm.
giving yourself a gift. It doesn't mean that you failed, like you're a failure. It just
Mhm.
means, hey, it's time to take a pause and
Mhm.
really look at it objectively. And sometimes you need coaches and people to help you. Like, hey, I've had my fair share of perspective openers, and I get to be that for my clients too. So
Mhm.
when you look at your clients from that perspective and know that like you're aligned and you're being that type of person, do you give them permission as well to kind of look at what's not working? Like, do you get to bring them through that experience?
Oh yeah, you literally took the words out of my mouth. So you and I have talked before, and one of your values that you've mentioned a number of times is community, right? So this importance of, okay, we've established there's a fear. I'm nervous about something. I admit it to myself. But the truth is, like, we're all kind of our own echo chamber. There's only so much we can figure out on our own. And back to the amygdala, we're not meant to live this life alone. We're meant to live it in a village, in a community with people helping us. So once you're able to admit that fear, not only out loud to yourself, but then to other people, they're able to say, oh, I've been there. Someone else has been there. We can figure this out together. And then, okay, that doesn't feel so scary, right? So that deep breath is really what, like, that's my goal. That's what I look for when I'm working with my clients. And a lot of times we get there, sometimes we don't. But that's really what I'm looking for, because money is scary for a lot of people. The reason behind why it's scary is totally different because we're all individuals, right? So I think my background as a therapist definitely helps me hone in on, like, what is it that's really feeling scary for you? Why is this feeling scary? And try to kind of pull that out. And then, you know, okay, we're in this together. I got you. I know why it's scary now, and we can figure out a way to hopefully make it less scary going forward. It's not to say that the fear is going to go away, but like, let's make it less scary. Let's admit it and we can figure it out. And then I look for that deep breath and they're like, damn, I feel better. Cool. Nothing has really changed, right? But now this feels less scary. Okay, now we can have an honest conversation.
Yeah, and isn't that cool when you can take something from a 10 and
Mm-hmm.
just walk it down the scale in terms of emotions? Because we have this curve, this crest when we're in an emotional state, whether it's fear or excitement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sort of feels the same sometimes.
Totally.
That I've learned not to make decisions from that swell, but to
Mm-hmm.
kind of walk through it and then have the clarity to be able to look at it honestly and then be able to create a game plan from there. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we act from that place of fear or knee jerk or, trying to avoid things, we rarely create the solutions that we want because we're
Mhm.
behaving from the same mindset that created the swell or the problem or the challenge to begin with. And
Yeah.
again, there's another quote in there, but I don't remember what it is. My
So
dad would be
quotable.
proud. He matched
So
all the.
quotable. Attraction versus distraction is the one that I'm taking away.
Right on! High five. That is one of the key takeaways, right? Is knowing like when to take action and when to just like sit with it. We as a society have sort of lost touch with like being with
Mm,
weirdness, awkwardness, and like negativity. You know, we're like, no, no, no,
mhm,
no. I'm going to tend myself into positivity. Everything's
mhm,
positive if I can look at it that way.
mhm.
And there's certain credence to that. And
Mhm,
sitting with discomfort, it's like, why do you stretch? Why do you move your body and like stretch your muscles so you
mhm,
can have
mhm,
continued range of motion? If you don't
mhm,
stretch
mhm,
and sit with that discomfort and breathe until it's not uncomfortable anymore, you don't
mhm.
get the benefit of stretching.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we have a very black and white society. It's good or it's bad, when in reality, it can be both, right? It can be good and bad. It can be uncomfortable and be helpful. It can, be scary and be awesome. Like you can feel the anxious and you can feel the excited. It's okay for those two things to happen at the same time. Yeah, so I absolutely think it's important to just recognize them and say, like, we can feel both. Let's feel both right now.
Right. And that to me is an investment in our EQ, in our emotional intelligence quotient.
Hmm.
And sometimes that is like IQ when it's like, I know I have a solution, but maybe now's not the time.
Hmm.
Having that, knowledge is power, but wisdom is really effective. When we have all
Mm.
the things we know and we put them into practice with how effective they can be. And
Hmm.
and that I believe is the value that you bring to your clients in your business with your specific skill set, heart set, and mindset. And that
Hmm.
is truly investing in people so that they can have the outcomes they want. Again, here at Rise and Shine, we are all about thinking in new ways to be entrepreneurial, investor minded, and at the end of the day, pay that legacy forward in our family with our values. So I
There
am
goes
I'm
the chills
so
again. I got the chills again.
well, you have to come back. That's all this means. It's
Yes.
like we're having awesome conversations so that people can have the benefit of our perspective, how we kind of are thinking about and playing with these different pieces of our identity and pieces of strategic business, and then how we apply it to our lives and our communities and our families. So I am so blessed that you came to hang out with us here today. Where can people go to find out more about you, Vinance, and to connect?
Yeah, LinkedIn, our website, those are probably the two best places. And then yeah, just email me. Like, reach out, if there's anything that we do taxes, we do accounting, we do CFO work, but I'm also a therapist. I do find, family financial therapy. We do all sorts. So like, just call us. We'll let you know if we can do it.
Right on. So hold up your mug.
Oh yeah. Our mug.
And that is Vinance, Vinance.
The
So
glare got
go
me.
check out Audrey and all the beautiful things she's up to, family, business, investor mindset, and beyond. We broadcast every single Monday, ladies and gents. Monday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Be here, be square, or be circular. I don't care. But we will see you in the comments. Let us know what was really valuable for you. Share this episode with someone who you think it could really make a difference for, because that at the end of the day is why we're all here, to make each other better and to make tomorrow look better than yesterday. So thanks a million. Keep on shining, and we'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Adios.